Last weekend, the new faith film, Paul, the Apostle of Christ, released in theaters across Canada. Hopefully you've had a chance to see it already, but if you haven't, Easter weekend is the perfect time to see this film. I recently had the opportunity to sit down with the film's award-winning actor, Jim Caviezel, best known for his portrayal of Jesus in Mel Gibson's Passion of the Christ. Here's a little bit of that interview.
In the Paul, the Apostle of Christ, the greatest controversy of this movie is to forgive at all cost, right? That's dying to oneself. People see that as meekness, they see it as weakness, but it is not. It's meeting evil face to face with love.
You think about that incredible redemption in the story of Paul. He is kind of like the leader of ISIS today.
Yeah.
And then he becomes this gigantic Christian leader in history. You know, when you think about that kind of theme, what does it teach you about who God is and who he's asking us to be?
Well, let's go back to where might, I've mentioned this before. Saul means great one, Paul means little one. By just one little change of a letter, in order for us to be great in the eyes of God, we have to become very small if we wish to be great. Saul, where was his fall? Where did it happen? Often people say, well, God threw him off the horse. Yes, but it didn't start there. Let's look back when Stephen, the first martyr, happened. Did Stephen have a peace coming through him that was so magnificent? What was he looking at? He was looking at Jesus, wasn't he? I see Jesus sitting at the right hand of the Father, coming in the clouds of heaven, repeating what our Lord said, and he's saying it. And now Saul has to justify this. Why are you persecuting? That's where it happened. That's where the break started happening, crumbling. And he had no answer for it. He had to justify it with his anger, you see, as we often do. And it probably just ate away at him until he was finally ready to hear it. And God, at that moment when he was ready to hear it, he threw him off his horse. And that became the seed that had to die in order to be rebirthed in something great. So you see him in the prison, and he gladly dies then. He takes the place of Stephen and dies for us to be Christ to us in this book. And Luke risks everything he can, and even to die into his self and his self-pride. And he writes about it. And Saul needed a guy like that. Paul needed a guy like that could write kind of what, here we are when we're just magnificent, here we are when we're not so great, when we're full of ourselves. And every day, if you're ready to die, and it's time, then that's, but we don't know when that time's going to be. But it's important to be ready to die every day. And what's ready to die? It's having that joy in our hearts, knowing that Jesus died for us. If we have that, we have everything. Even if we don't necessarily have the monetary thing, I always say, be happier with much less.
You play Luke, as you said, and that relationship between Luke and Paul is so interesting. You guys really dived into that. What did you learn about kind of this mysterious figure, Luke, that we don't hear a lot about? As you really, like, I know you pray a lot into your characters. What do you think you learned from him as you took him on?
Every time I do a film like this, I'm always brought closer to him.
You have an experience that I guess only martyrs usually understand, or people who've been imprisoned, and I think it's a beautiful thing, a painful thing, and you paid a big price for it, but I think you've given a gift, and I hope that you continue to have great opportunities to make great art that increases our faith and our understanding of who God is and who he is in us.
Pray for this film. Pray for the resurrection. Pray for that. And we need your prayers, guys.
We'll pray for you.
I'll need them.
Luke, am I dreaming?
From the studio that brought you Risen and War Room.
There must be a handwritten account of your acts.
Their faith challenged an empire.
What do you really know about these Christians?
We've got to get these out of Rome.
Their message changed the world.
Love is the only way.
Now,
Where sin abounds, grace abounds more.
Paul, Apostle of Christ, rated PG-13, now playing.
It is so great to see faith films done with such high quality. We're seeing that more and more. And Jim Caviezel does an amazing job playing Luke in this film, and he really dives into those themes of suffering. You know, even in his personal life, he has adopted 3 kids from China. 2 of them have a brain tumor, 1 of them has cancer, and he chose those kids
on purpose. He said he took the money from the Passion of the Christ and he used it to help these kids have a chance at life. And what a beautiful example. Paul, the Apostle of Christ, explores themes of suffering, of forgiveness, of all those kind of deep things. Do you think about Easter happening this weekend? Maybe you have some people in your life who are saying, I don't really know what this Easter thing's about. Taking them to this film would be a great way to share your faith and explore some of those themes. Make sure to go and support media that supports faith values.